Thank you, Veronica. Appreciate it. Our seventh tradition states that every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. We will now pass the basket. Alrighty, this is a weekly literature and step meeting. Our format is as follows. A speaker is asked to talk for no longer than 30 minutes on either a composition from the big book or on the step of that week, followed by a group shares, discussions, and questions until 7 p.m. We then end the meeting with the Lord's Prayer. You can find our weekly meetings on the YouTube page called the Stay Alive Literature and Step Group Meeting. You can also find them on the following Facebook pages: Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, PA, 2, AA Unity Service and Recovery Group, and 3, Doylestown Recovery Group. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. And this brings us to the speaker portion of our meeting on April 14th, 2025. In Doylestown at the Monday night, 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group meeting at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Tim, and they are sharing their experience and speaking on Step 1. So welcome, Tim.
Hi, everybody. I am Tim Mansfield. I am a drug addict and alcoholic. Two things. I use my last name. When I first came in, there was a woman who died, and it's hard to find Anita when you're looking at funeral homes and whatnot, so I use my last name because of that. Two things. I'm an and. I will keep it in the bottle, but the and is really what got me in this room, which I'll just breeze over lightly. My insides do not match your outsides right now, and that's the way it is all the time when I'm speaking, but I speak all the time. I'm very, very involved in AA. AA has never said no to me, and the reason why I'm sitting here tonight is because I didn't say no to AA, even though I have a commitment tonight. I am the treatment facility liaison for all of Montgomery County, and tonight's the zone meeting, and I'm supposed to be sitting at the table. But my cousin is a member of this great organization, and he had a commitment, and he couldn't fill it, and I said, I'll fill it for you. I came from Wayne to here without a helicopter. It was a heck of a drive. But I'm very serious about, I don't say no to AA. There's a responsibility pledge that I take very seriously as well. I have a sobriety date. It's May 14th, 2022. I'm exactly 2 years and 11 months tonight. I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor. I have a sponsee. This is the first sponsee that I actually did any work with. This is the fourth I had. 3 never even got near a step before they went out again. That's just the way it goes. I took that very, very hard the first time, but I learned that it's not my responsibility. I hope that I just breeze over what it was like, because I spent way too much time in that. I had one run in my life, and it was 40 years long. I could talk about what it was like forever, but it doesn't matter. We all have the same what it was like as far as the enemy. But let me give you some facts. I am at least 3rd generation alcoholic, at least. My grandfather, I didn't know this till I was an adult, died on the streets of Philadelphia, like literally the people you walk over in cardboard boxes. I do know that he fathered 9 kids, 7 boys and 2 girls. All 7 boys were raised in a home in Philadelphia called St. Joe's Home, including my dad and my uncle who wound up raising me. So they never had an idea of what a father was like. My father, I'm one of 5, I'm the 4th of 5. My mom and dad had 5 kids in 6 years and 3 months. From April of '63 to July of '69, there's 5 of us. My dad was a reckless drunk. He has to call himself an alcoholic. But my mom died when I was 6 years old. She had some rare blood disease. And he went to pieces. So he was going to put us all the boys in that home, that very same home that he grew up in. And all his brothers stepped in and said, "What, are you kidding me?" One of his brothers is Tom, who I'm sitting here for. It's his dad. And he did the same thing. He was a reckless alcoholic who gave up his family. Tom was abandoned, so I wound up being abandoned. Tom's mom went and remarried. I went to a different aunt and uncle. So I have a history in my family of alcoholism. I was abandoned by my dad. I was taken in by my aunt and uncle who showed me no love. just slightly under Harry Potter, if you know what Harry Potter's like. I was just slightly under that. I did have a bed. I had everything, actually, except validation of anything. I walked into, when I was in recovery, I walked into a workshop for adult children of alcoholics. I didn't know what it was. It was a workshop. I nearly ran out because it brought out a lot of things that I'm just not ready for. Like I'm still, I need to worry about my sobriety. But anyway, one of the questions they asked in the workshop was, what did you want to hear growing up? And my answer was attaboy. Like that's it, just once. So there's those things I have to deal with, right? So fast forward, I started using smoked pot. I say drug addict first, alcoholic second, because I smoked pot first. But when I was 15, I picked up drinking, and I could close my eyes and tell you the feeling of it right now. It was awesome. It was everything I was looking for. And it's everything. I was either in that state, recovering from that state, or chasing that state for the next 40 years. I loved drinking, loved everything about it. All the peripherals, all the other goods were part of my life, and I never cared about them. We always went out to drink, and then there was other stuff, and if there was other stuff, we did it. Just kept going. By the time I was 21, I dropped out of school, and I said out loud, I'm an alcoholic. That's not a big thing in my story. Asking for help is a big thing. I just didn't want any help because everyone around me was an alcoholic. My uncle who raised me and took me in had 2 Manhattans and 2 beers every day at lunch. But I figured, and then came home and drank 5 or 6 cans of beer. And that's the way I was. Like I'm functioning. I'm getting up and putting my pants on. And I love the term functioning alcoholic. I said that after I got sober, and someone said, no, you weren't a functioning alcoholic. You were a mess. Now you're a functioning alcoholic. So I like that. But I mean, I wore my alcoholism like a badge. I was the guy that, when my wife went to the beer store and the owners had never seen her before, but they recognized my kids because I was always there, came around from behind the counter and said, oh, your husband, he's our best customer. When I was taking 3 cases of beer off the back of my truck, and my brother was with me because he was helping me build my deck, my neighbor asked me, oh, you having a party for the Eagles game? And I'm like, no, he's helping me build my deck. And as we walked away, my brother was like, that's not why they asked you that. I was like, oh, yeah, right. When I got a roof done, I had a big 30-yard container out in my driveway so I could throw the scraps in. I'm getting texts from my neighbor saying, oh, I see you finally got a proper size recycling container. Like it was all a joke, right? It was all a joke, but it wasn't. So it was, it's in my blood, abandonment, and then invalidation my whole growing up. And then I got married, right? Got married right out of school, met this wonderful woman, and she is a wonderful woman. She's still a wonderful woman. She sucked as a wife, and I probably sucked as a husband too. But we raised great kids, but my marriage sucked. And instead of being a man or an adult and facing the fact and saying, we got to do something here, I just kept running into alcoholism. And all those, I had a really good job. The Comcast Center, I'm an accountant, the Comcast Center, the first one, I was a controller of that. And then moved on to other jobs too. I was making 6 figures, wearing a suit, all that stuff. And all those lines that you set. I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. I crossed and crossed and crossed. And then one of my favorite other substances came back into the picture. I don't even know where it came from, but I dove fully into it. And those 2 things just made me keep crossing every barrier that I set up, pulled me further away from my family. My boys are growing up. At the end, I wound up alone in my garage, a wall away from my wife and my youngest son as they're eating dinner. And I'm like looking at porn and doing crossword puzzles and watching political shows, but just not being involved in life at all. So I got fired from one 6-figure job, got fired from another 6-figure job, said, oh, I don't need to do this anymore, and started contracting. Got fired twice from them. One of them was when my cousin Tom was my boss. He got me a job, and I was like falling asleep at the desk and this and that. And all that, as I'm pulling my family into financial ruin, I'm not bringing any money in. My other habit is exuberant in its cost, including the gambling I'm doing and everything else. I could pay for beer on a credit card, right? So I did that, and then using cash to pay the other thing, I started robbing from my own 401k. And I drained 6-figure 401k on a lot of bad things. And this is still not enough, right? We have to refinance so that I could pay my mortgage. I got 2 kids in college. And I just couldn't stop. I was completely powerless, like Step 1 says. And in July of 2020, July of 2021, my son came to me. He was a Marine. He still is a Marine. My brother and my cousin came to me and confronted me about my drinking. They don't know about the other half. And I was like relieved. I was like, thank God, because everything was about drinking to me. And I was like, I'm going to get better. Well, as you know, with addiction, that's not the way it works. I stopped drinking July 25th, 2021. Oh, by the way, they came to me on July 21st. I didn't stop until July 25th because my beer fridge was full. God forbid I dump it out. I had to drink it all first. And I thought it was just going to be better. I went to my first AA meeting on July 26th, Monday morning, 6 o'clock at St. Mark's in Conshohocken. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. And then I continued using the other stuff. Went to marriage counseling, completely stoned out of my mind, and just kept lying and stealing and withdrawing and all that until the following April, 2022, I stopped. And I waited 2 weeks to see if I could go 2 weeks without using anything, and I could. And I came clean to my wife, and it was the most relieving thing I ever did. But that started divorce proceedings, got kicked out. If my cousin lived with a different cousin, if she didn't live around the corner, I would have been homeless. I was out on the street. I had a pillow, a dog, and a frying pan, and I still have all three of those. But now I have my own apartment. Anyway. I use May 14th as my date because that's the first day I walked into AA, and it's just easy to remember. But if you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to go for it. I had no idea what you had, and I didn't fucking want it. All I wanted was my son. Oh, I cursed, I'm sorry. All I wanted was my son's back in my life. When you said that earlier, I was like, wow, that's going to be an issue. But I wanted my sons back in my life, and that's what got me in the rooms. And I go to a ton of commitments. I'm in service a lot, and I say to people, I don't care what brings you in the rooms. I really don't. Anything. Come in to prove us wrong. Anything. But come in. And if you keep coming around, things start to work for you. So my God moment, and I only look at it back, looking backwards, I say that, was the fact that I kept coming back. Because first of all, the only job I could have was working overnight at Target, unloading trucks, because they didn't drug test. I was working like 14 hours a week. And I had cars, kids in college, a mortgage. Just crazy. And Target didn't even want me there. They only put me on a schedule for 14 hours. But anyway, I started coming around, walked out of every meeting like, what the F was that? Mad. I was confused. That was the big thing. I found it so confusing. And I don't like being confused because I like being the smartest guy in the room. And I was angry. And now I'm, all of 3 weeks and then 4 weeks without a drink, without using everything. And I'm like, why aren't my boys coming back to me? I wanted the instant gratification, all that. We did like super speedo divorce. I was divorced by December, from May to December, because I was like, I'm not arguing this. It was fairly fair terms. I was also in the midst of, the fog of my addiction. Looking back now, I'm like, maybe I could have done things a little different. But I'm still peeling away the last 3 years of my addiction because I was never, ever sober, ever. I went to bed with product and woke up with product. It was just terrible. And even if I wasn't actively using, I was under the influence because driving to or going to get it, my mind was completely warped. And by the way, I didn't even care what it was. That just happened to be the product. I just wanted something. And I had quit drinking. So I don't remember having one good time in those last 9 months at all. I just used to keep myself going and all that. And there were just days and days and days where I was up and hallucinating and all that. But anyway, one particular meeting I walked out, looked up to the sky because that's where my God was. My God was there. I had a God all the time, but he was there. And I just left him there. Never thought of bringing him down here with me. Or better yet, me actually reaching out to him. So he was there and I talked to him and then, I always like to say he was there, I was here, and destruction was just everywhere around me. But anyway, I walked out of a meeting and said, what the F was that? Out loud said that. And there was a gentleman behind me. My friend knows this gentleman, and he just said, well, Tim, can you do a 6 a.m. meeting? And I was doing like 3 meetings a day. I wasn't sleeping. It was terrible. And I just said, sure, I'll give a 6 a.m. meeting a shot. And I was bouncing all over the place at these meetings. So I did the 6 a.m. meeting. It was 45 minutes, and it was on the daily reflection. And that stuck. And from there, they told me about this meeting that was on Monday and Wednesday. Monday was Big Book. Wednesday was Beginner. Met my sponsor there. From there, they told me about this meeting that I call a tattoo convention. It's in Bridgeport. That was Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday was beginner meeting. No, Tuesday was a big book breakdown meeting, and Thursday was the beginner meeting. That stuck. And then there was a Friday meeting where a lot of the people from the Wednesday meeting went, and that stuck. And things started to stick, and I stopped complaining and started, asking questions of my sponsor. So I'll roll right into the step one, because I could talk forever about step one. I went up to my sponsor and said these words: I got steps 1 through 3 down, so we can move on. And he just looked at me. My sponsor at that time had 29 years sobriety. He looked at me and laughed, and he's like, "Is that right?" He's like, "You're on step 1 until I say otherwise." So I was kind of taken aback and, butt hurt and all this. So I went to another meeting, Glenside Center, and I announced that. I'm like, my sponsor said that, and a guy with like 50 years after me said, "You have the greatest sponsor in the world." He said, "If you just do step 1 for the rest of your life, you're going to be fine." Step 1 does not say that you cannot drink again, or that I cannot drink again. Step 1 says that I can and I will if I don't get help. And the guy who said that to me, I looked at him and I was like this, and he's like, "I can't help you either. I'm powerless." He's like, "You have to get help from another power." And I love that. That stuck with me. You hear so many different messages. I hear so many different messages, and it's just like, and then once, like, damn, you know what I mean? It's like I heard it 50 times, but that I say that all the time, and I love looking at it that way. It doesn't say I can't drink again. I sure as hell can, and I will if I don't turn my will over. That step 1 is something that I do 50 times a day. I certainly do it every day, but I have zero obsession to drink, zero. But that doesn't mean anything, because I don't know what's going to make me want to drink, but I sure as hell know what makes me not want to drink. I remember in the tattoo convention, a woman looked right at me. I have not seen her since, but I remember when she looked right at me and she said, "Tim, you take that first drink from a standpoint of sobriety." That is the simplest statement ever, but that hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, holy shit. Like, again, sorry. I'm like, you don't have anything to blame it on, or like, meaning me right here, I am this far away from picking up all the time. And that scares me. I like good fears like that. I'm a very, very, very scared alcoholic. Too much so, to the point where I kind of wrap myself around. They say wear it like a loose garment. I kind of wear it like a tight garment. I'm getting better. But I did nothing but AA for easily the first year and a half. I remember the first happy hour work had. I must have shared about it forever, because I'm like, they're going to think this, they're going to think that. Like, the ego's still there. Everyone's looking at whether I'm drinking this or drinking that, and they're not. But then I was thinking, I just don't want to be at a bar. I'm almost 3 years sober. I've not been in a liquor store, and I will not walk into a bar without another AA or someone like my sister. She's a normie, but she will kill me if I pick up a drink. Like I said, I have no obsession. That bar isn't calling to me, but I don't know when it's going to be, and I believe that. So I got myself very involved in AA. At 90 days, my home group, I have a home group. At 90 days, we're good. Okay. At 90 days, one of my people that I consider my mentors came up to me and he said, "Hey Tim, you got 90 days?" And I'm like, "Yeah," like all ready for the pat on the back. He's like, "Good, you're speaking for me Saturday." And he just walked out, And that when I spoke at my home group that Saturday, that started my service. I then was IGR. I was IGR and was speaking all over the place. Then I became, I don't know what I became. I don't know, I was always involved some way in my home group. Assistant treasurer, then treasurer. I just got elected, or whatever the proper word is, annual chair. And that's because the same 4 people are just switching hats, but it is what it is. But I won't say no to AA. I don't particularly like being chair. Actually, I'll be way more honest than that. I don't like being chair. I don't like business meetings at all. Business meetings, big. I lived in business. I not only lived in business, I lived in business in the real estate world. It's ferocious, and I can be ferocious. In fact, I'm really, really good at being ferocious. I don't want to be that guy anymore. There's a lot of me that I don't like, and I'm so glad that I can look back. And I still get like embarrassed, or whatever the right word is, but I've learned to move on. I've learned to accept compliments, which is a giant thing. The biggest thing is I learned to stop lying. I was the lyingest MFer out there, tripping over my own lies. Someone said in the rooms once, you were like Jason Bourne. I'm like, that's perfect. I was like, I'm the Jason Bourne of lying. And there are certain physical things that happen to me that are really weird because of location. And I'll tell you, one of them was coming in here. That last job that I had, the last real job that I had that my cousin hired me for, was right down the road in Doylestown. And the whole ride here, all I was thinking about was all the times I was messed up going into work and already thinking about how I was getting out of work to go all the way back to West Oak Lane from here. And the lie I would have to tell, because I have to get from A to B, lie with work, lie with kids, lie with wife, all that. And I would try to put 5 pounds of crap in a 10-pound bag as far as time, or 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag as far as time was concerned. Like, I have to do all this stuff and I have 40 minutes to do it. And I'm like, this is going to take 2 hours, but none of it mattered. As soon as I picked up, as soon as I got the beer, it was already calm. And then when I picked up, it didn't matter. Now the lies could just come out because now I got my fix. But that happened on the way here. And another time I was in at one of the stoplights, and I was always like, oh my gosh, we got to get wherever. And my leg just started shaking. And I'm like, what is going on? And I looked around and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is part of my path. Every day I get up and meditate. This is all me. Wait, let me say that wrong. I think I meditate. I have no idea if I meditate. I spend some time with my higher power. I call my higher power God, and I brought him down here now. Way less wreckage over here. Those boys that weren't part of my life, I have a very good relationship with. I just texted one today. I'm taking off Monday, the 28th, to go hang with him in Long Island. My oldest is a Marine. I just spent 4 days out in San Diego with him. And my youngest, my middle guy, he's moving to Westchester, and I'm making plans to move with him. It's not, skipping down the lane, but there's a definite dialogue and love there. My ex-wife is zero communication, and I think that's, actually, I don't know. I don't want to think, and I don't want to sit here, because that's what I did my entire marriage with her, was guess what was in her head. And I think she did the same thing back. I think we were exactly alike, except she didn't turn to drugs. We had all these conversations that never actually happened. And when you have those conversations, you're never thinking, oh, he's thinking I'm doing this nice for him, right? You always think the worst, right? She thinks that, he thinks that. So I don't know what she's thinking. I hope she's healing. My amends with her, I'll end with that. My amends with her was, I called her. She picked up, which was not what I thought was going to happen. I thought she was going to see it was me and let it go. This is a year into my sobriety, because I know the conversation ended about the communion party that we were going to, which is May, and I got sober in May. So a year, and she picked up, and I stuttered a little bit, and I said, I just want to officially make an amends with you, and I was hoping we'd get together, have a cup of coffee or something like that. And she cut me off. She said, I don't want to hear any, and whatever she said was like basically enough of what you had to say. And I'm like, okay. And there's a reason why the amends are that long in the, that far into the steps, because if that happened day one, I would flip the hell out like a, maniac. But anyway, I accepted that and said, okay. And then I suggested, because I didn't want her to feel pain, guilt, whatever it was, because of my addiction on her life, that there are other programs out there. I said, I only know of Al-Anon. And she cut me off and she said, this isn't all about you. And I was thinking, wow, here I'm thinking that I'm being about her. So that baffled me, and it did baffle me. It didn't anger me, it baffled me. And I went to my therapist, and I had therapy for a year or two. My whole first year was excellent. It was not alcohol related at all. I was just trying to get through issues. But anyway, he said to me, I said to her, I don't want you, and he stopped me right there. He's like, that's right. He said, the first words out of your mouth are, I don't want. And she's sick of your hearing what you want and what you don't want. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it never even dawned on me. That's all she heard. He's like, she didn't hear anything else you said after that. I'm like, well, that's a shot to the ego. Here's what I'm going to say. Every day I get up and I read that book, and I only read the 3rd step and the 7th-step prayer, which I then completely stray away from. But on page 417, There's two sentences that I read every day. At the top of 417, it says, if I start living in the answer instead of living in the problem goes away. And down the bottom of the next paragraph says, I don't have to change so much what's going on in the world as I do with me and my attitudes. It's all about how I look at it. I can yell at God, I can not pray, I can not go to a meeting, I could tell everybody on my phone list that I hate them, I could, kick things over, I could curse, I could do all this stuff that I've learned not to do and how to be better. But if I don't pick up a drink, it's a W. And I can fix all that stuff tomorrow. It's all about not picking up a drink, and everything else gets better. My cousin Tom says to me, I use this all the time too, when I got sober and my head was spinning off and I said all this stuff to him, his one sentence back was, you know how to make that worse, right? And I do know how to make it worse. And if you just stay away from that, things get better. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, man.
You're welcome, man.
Appreciate it. All right, good job, man. Thank you. So we have come to the part of our meeting where we open up the floor to share, have some discussion, or you can even have some questions if you like. Feel free to speak as long or as little as you like. Please try to keep your conversation to as close to the step as you possibly can, unless you're really struggling. We're all ears here too as well. So if you feel like drinking, or if you've had a drink today, please see me after the meeting. If you or we'll have people around that you can speak to too. So I'm going to open up the floor to you for some shares. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.